a few people masuk baru kita ni lah.
Okay.
Otherwise kita just sembang like we're the green room lah kan. Apa nama tu, what else is coming up in terms of in the EV space ni, anything interesting that's coming up?
What's coming up is what's going to be announced in the budget lah.
Okay. So do we know if we're going to get extra goodies on the budget?
Wallahu alam. Tapi I think Pat has been engaging a lot with the government on that. So he might be able to give us a flavour lah.
Boleh ke, Syed? Boleh share?
Boleh. Mana yang boleh lah.
Ya, bagi apa dia punya rasa lah, rasa masam ke, kelat ke, masin ke, manis ke.
And apa nama tu, what's the still the expectation untuk tahun ni lah, kalau you guys boleh. I think geng Pokemon ni very important sebab they put where their money where their mouth is lah kan.
Yes,
and you have to actually decide what car to bring in, and you need to spot the trend maybe a year ahead of everybody else kan.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, dah pukul 8 dah ni. Kita thank you everybody kerana datang hari ni untuk tengok kita punya discussion mengenai satu isu yang saya kira agak menarik juga, iaitu kita baru saja lepas Chinese New Year dan tahun ni signifikan sikit lah Chinese New Year ni, sebab masa penghujung tahun lepas dan awal tahun ni kita nampak maybe a big difference in terms of numbers of EV atas I think a few major factors lah. Yang pertama sekali, bulan 4 tahun lepas Volvo launch dia orang punya XC40 electric and they sold out for the entire year, and that boosted their sales. So obviously ada 400-500 extra dekat situ aja. And then of course awal tahun tu hari BYD brought in I think 100 cars they brought in 500 cars, but they managed to deliver I think like 100 cars if I'm mistaken just before Chinese New Year. So dekat situ dah ada berapa ratus extra, and I don't know Pokemon tahun lepas berjaya jual berapa unit kereta. So there is like a big boost in terms of numbers from last Chinese New Year to this Chinese New Year. Dan kita juga at the same time nampak ada a few big players masuk into the charging space. Kalau sebelum ni kita tengok apa nama tu, Malaysian Green Tech and their charge EV, and then we see Jom Charge, and then Shell dengan dia punya Park Easy. These are the different partnerships. Tapi kali ni kita nampak Gentari, which is Petronas basically, coming into the scene. And of course TNB opened up 2 charging stations lah kan, stations lah, just before the Chinese New Year break. And of course things like BMW dah open up dia orang punya charging network to the public. And so okay, can you guys kongsi sikit lah, maybe today with me, sorry I terlupa nak introduce, Dato' Syarul Hamid is president of My EV Owners Club, and kawan kita Raja Petra dia banyak topi, tapi hari ni you nak pakai topi apa?
Pekemah.
Okay, so sebagai wakil daripada Dewan Muda Pekemah lah, he is head of Dewan Muda Pekemah, which is basically the people yang have to put their money where their mouth is lah, sebab dia orang yang nak kena decide kereta apa nak bawa masuk, and if they decide to bring electric car, then they have to sell it lah kan, they have to guess the market accurately. So these are I think key opinion leaders dalam EV punya space yang ada maklumat yang solid lah mengenai apa yang sedang berlaku. So maybe you guys, sebelum kita cerita pasal the charging situation tu, hari ni of course big news awal pagi tadi ialah Tesla punya quarter 4 earnings report lah. And any comments from you guys about the Q4 earnings report? I mean, it's one company, but it is the leading company in EV space lah. So I think maybe we should give it a bit of time lah to discuss it.
Well, Tesla, this is the Q4, right? Q4 punya report
Q4
last year,
dengan Q4 and full year dia sekali lah, dia wrap up sekali.
Dia manage to achieve target ke?
Dia pretty much achieve 40%. They did achieve the target.
They achieve their target, tapi dia punya profitability took a slight hit.
Yes, slightly.
from the target.
Right.
But
Tapi macam
overall, it's
Tesla ni,
pretty
I
good
think
news lah.
macam Tesla ni memang margin dia dah besar. Since dia dah buat dia buat dia punya technique of production tu different kan. So untuk dia slash tu is kind of like macam kita expected lah, sebab sekarang ni dia punya sale dekat luar is ada ancaman daripada China now, in Europe and in US, Vietnam pun ada. So I guess macam expected jugalah dia nak turun ni, tapi itulah dia turun naik tu kadang-kadang
Pening.
Tak
So
berapa.
apa impact dia bila Tesla slash harga, ada some market sampai 20%, some models price cut, that is like huge discount. What is the impact, let's say on let's say Malaysia punya market lah?
Harga Tesla mesti turun lah. I mean, for player like us, kita dah beli harga dulu mahal, and then the new stock ni harga baru murah 20%, so we have to average out lah. Harga tetap harga mungkin akan turun jugalah. Definitely harga akan turun. But I guess it's good news for consumer lah.
And my evoke macam mana? You think, Dr. Syarul, you think ini how many more percent of people you think they will get kalau kata harga ni turun lah? You'll see a big spike in terms of number of people yang akan.
Yeah, I think so. Not bad, because sebelum ni because for example yang model-model yang Tesla kan Model 3 dengan Model Y je. So Model 3 ramai orang cross shop dengan the 3 Series BMW, dengan the maybe the Merc C-Class, not so much lah, but mostly that range. Tapi kalau tengok the price range of the 3 Series kat Malaysia memang lebih murah lah. I mean they start I think like 250 to 60. Tapi setakat ni Model 3 standard range belum kurang daripada 300 lagi. So bila harga ni dah turun, nanti jadi lebih kompetitif. Lepas tu kalau nak ikutkan pun sekarang importer ada yang import daripada Japan, in addition to UK, Hong Kong, Australia. Then the prices be a lot more competitive lah. So I think we will see a lot more Tesla on the road.
So last year ada macam ura-ura that the government might allow cars from different markets nak masuk ke Malaysia ni lah. Recon disebabkan orang minta kereta yang mampu milik. Katanya mungkin nak buka daripada Thailand. Is that something that's going to happen? Sebab I tanya tu sebab di Thailand Tesla dah almost immediately announce that the new prices will be in effect kan.
So far government belum bagi kita orang signal green light lah to import cars from Thailand lagi. Unless you are a franchise distributor or franchise dealer Malaysia, then you can boleh ambil stok kat sana. Tapi that is another process lah, and then they don't call it open AP juga lah tu. Panggil AP lain lah.
Okay.
So for now it's still the traditional market, UK, Japan. We have new market today like New Zealand and Hong Kong. So that market lah yang kita boleh ambil. Sayang lah kalau boleh ambil kat Thailand is.
So hari ni ada satu lagi
dalam semua Tesla.
nak tunjuk, nak share sikit dengan you guys. This satu story from Nissan in the US lah, Nissan dekat US. This story dia keluar, they made this, they sent their press release to Automotive News lah. So cerita tentang nak invest in electric production and all that lah. Cuma yang ini lah saya nak highlight ni, cuba kawan-kawan Datuk dengan kita tengok sikit ni. This is an interesting piece of statement lah yang tak ramai orang pick up lah. Yang pick up ni ialah hanyalah geng-geng yang carry story EV sajalah. Nissan dah admit, kata dia orang surprise dengan the take up rate of EV, and are you guys surprised with the take up rate of EV? I mean globally ke, in Malaysia ke, macam mana ke, since last year bila the government really open up the floodgates?
No, not really lah. Because one is the full support of all the government policies in the big market like the USA, Europe, China especially, even though dia kata next generation energy vehicles, because increasingly it's very clear that full electric EVs are the ones that will meet the climate change targets for all these governments. So study after study, for example, dekat Europe, they have proven that even though plug-in hybrids were given subsidies that time, tapi what was supposed to have been delivered in terms of emissions reduction did not, because people were not using it as what the OEMs tested it. So masa testing dia satu hal, bolehlah dapat 1 liter per 100 km ke 2 liters per 100 km, but when people use it in real life, you end up getting like 6, 7. So the study I think indicates lah 2 to 3 times the emission. So memang I'm not surprised at all lah that the actual pickup is going to be like that, because a lot of it is driven by government policy.
Okay. So in Malaysia, macam mana the pickup has been so far? Because the government did give a big boost lah kan?
Yep.
I would say
Go ahead.
floodgate lah. Macam you cakap, floodgate. Yeah, I mean the handsome incentive was postponed around 1 year kan? 1 year.
Yep.
So bila dalam 1 year tu anticipation was high. Orang dah beli EV sebelum tu, tapi without all the incentive. Tapi bila dengar handsome is coming in, handsome incentive is coming in, so everybody was like hype up. And once dia dah present to budget, announce, benda dah seal, then you see like, you know, perkemar target 500 je last year for EV.
Oh iya ke? 500 je target dia?
Betul.
Kita import 500 je lah kita punya target. But end up 815, you know, total kita import. So the take up tu agak masa awal-awal tu memeranjatkan jugalah. Meaning that kita tak sangka yang orang hari ni you know, looking at the infrastructure, bila you tengok infrastructure, bila you tengok repair, service, after sales belum ada, you tak fikir orang akan macam ni punya laju nah.
Right.
But yeah, it was boleh tu pasal saya pun agak, to me it's a very it's a discovery. Tengok orang Malaysia ni sebenarnya open minded kan dengan teknologi baru ataupun what is offering, apa benda baru yang offer in the market. So that's my part. That's how we feel lah.
So after 1 year, of course there will be people yang akan masih lagi very emotional about cars lah. I think a lot of the resistance ni is about because kita dah dilatih lah setelah sekian lama that a car is something very emotional. It is so tied to our personality, as it were. We're trained to think like that, you know. That's why BMW fans will fight with Mercedes fans, you know, be nasty to each other about it, you know. And of course, satu lagi is because it's tied to that sense of freedom. So it's a very emotional thing lah, the car ni kan.
That's right.
But there was a big piece of news towards the end of the year yang it's not really picked up in a big way by the market, which is very important, is that I think kita kat sini banyak kali dah kita sebut kata fleet is where governments need to focus kan. And last year for the first time we have hard data about the benefit of EV from Hertz. And Hertz indicating 60% less maintenance cost, and suddenly they hit record profits basically on the strength of the Tesla cars that they're putting out on the market lah. And there was one particular paragraph yang kata it's not like as if more people are renting their cars, but it's just that the cars have less maintenance, and because they are in the workshop a lot less, they are available to be out for rental more. So maybe what do you guys think? Should the Malaysian government focus on fleet? Because we know India apparently is focusing on fleet. That's how we know from our friends yang operate kat India.
Last year lagi ada kan announcement daripada menteri masa tu, Menteri Kasar, Tuan Ibrahim cakap memang government fleet will transition over to EV. It's part of the low carbon mobility blueprint. But I guess the question is in terms of how gradual is it going to be, because it wouldn't make sense lah kalau kereta tu dah end of life tukar EV. Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Kalau kereta tu end of life tetapi tak ada a suitable size punya substitute lah. For example, kalau government sekarang, contohnya lah, menteri pakai Velfire. What is the equivalent EV to a Velfire that they can swap with? Currently, saya rasa pilihan dalam segmen tu memang tak banyak lah.
Zika 09.
Yes, satu je. So, setengah orang tak suka pun. So maybe that's the part that's holding it down. But from what I understand, memang is in the plan. Memang the Malaysian government memang ada komitmen nak buat ni. Tetapi cuma subject to timing, subject to cost efficiency, because you also don't want to push it too hard. Benda tu elok boleh pakai lagi, tapi you go ahead and replace it. So that's also another factor.
Okay, itu the government side lah. But what about encouraging the private sector to convert their fleets? How should that be done?
Well, okay, Pat, you go first.
I thought we have Gita inside the
tax allowance, allowance and all that.
On fleet ada.
Ada. Yeah, there is that encouragement, tapi the pickup is not banyak sangat. Well, actually, you think about it, pickup of like private companies replacing their fleets with EVs, even globally, you don't hear other than the latest one, which is Hertz, but that's more for car rental. Tapi kalau, for example, logistics company, they are also like dipping their toes quite slowly because two concerns. One is that kalau in terms of the public charging infrastructure, or they want factor in the cost of having to build their own fleet charging infrastructure, that factors into the second point, which is sekarang dekat Malaysia especially, we are still subsidizing our diesel dengan petrol. So the business case for your capex right now to replace the fleet from ICE to EV masih tak jelas kalau dekat Malaysia ni.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we come to that, I think I've mentioned this to you guys before. Is there you think should there be a mechanism where the let's say the tax break or the financial incentive that the government should give to fleet operators ni should be at least equivalent to the subsidy that we would give to them if they were to use that product for 5 years, because typically fleet ni dia orang high mileage kan, so they use a lot of diesel, and the subsidy that they get is memang besar lah kan. Would that be, because the reason why I suggest that is because once you convert to EV, it's not likely that you're going to go back to ICE lah kan. So a one-off 5-year, you calculate whatever 5-year cost of the subsidy, just bagi to them, and after that you never have to worry about that again, because it will never crop up again, or almost will not.
I think the problem with kita punya fleet, they say kita fleet dah ada insentif. The problem ialah player or the industry tak nak no takers. The reason why no takers, you kena faham lah. Nak tukar satu fleet ni is going to be another capital exercise lah. And then bila dah tukar fleet, okay, dia orang dapat some income tax allowance, something like that, to operate within 5 years tanpa government tax dia orang or what not. But I think the most pressing issue is there is no urgency, or there is no push for fleet company to become carbon emission less,
Yes.
Because there is an motivation or encouragement to tukar EV, tapi there is no some sort of penalty if they stick on the fossil fuel ataupun the petrol engine. So you got a situation where selagi minyak murah, spare parts senang dapat, right? People tak nak tukar. I mean, the fleet company tak ada push untuk tukar. This is what I think lah.
So I guess we'll probably just need more data kot to convince them that of the cost benefit lah kan, because I don't think people will convert to EV because dia sayang kat dalam sekitar lah, unless you punish them through whether ESG punya score ke apa ke. They're just not
or
going to
carbon
do it
trading.
lah. Unless the cost benefit is just so huge that then they will just have no choice. Say I'll be stupid to not jump to EV lah. But of course kita nak tengok Amazon lah. Amazon has not been reporting anything. They are early adopters untuk EV delivery van. We have not seen any further information from them, so tak tahu lah whether their jump has been successful or not kan.
Kita ada DHL apa? Samsul, DHL dah announce dia nak tukar fleet dia orang to EV.
Ya betul lah, di Malaysia DHL lah. Dia using the Chang'an punya produk tu lah kan.
Yes. And that is actually because company dia punya policy tu datang daripada dia punya HQ Germany.
Yeah.
And that's why the push is there. Kalau dia nak ikut kita punya insentif ke apa, I think dia orang pun tak push, tak tukar lagi.
Yeah. So I guess we kena tunggu multinational dulu lah kot kat Malaysia ni to lead the way somehow. Kan?
So business case tu tak jelas, itu yang masalah.
Business case dia, that's right. The business case is just not very clear. Ke ataupun sama juga macam kereta, all these fleet operators, dia orang pun tak clear about government punya long term policy. So dia pun macam kang kalau aku ambil kang, lepas tu tak ada support on infrastructure, macam mana ni kan.
There's
Maybe less of that.
Right. So okay, so this year I guess kita punya the big brand yang kita nampak bergerak ni BYD lah kan. Dia orang punya target tu agak besar jugalah kan. Beribu-ribu lemon lah dia nak jual kan. So and also because Singapore users and Thai users, they're also coming into Malaysia. Is that something yang boleh akan jadi maybe insentif untuk EV charging operators ke?
Yes, definitely. Sebab sekarang ni we are doing okay. So the tricky bit is for the charging operator punya timing tu. Dia punya timing bila dia nak deploy the charging stations in time sama dengan lockstep lah. Macam kita cakap, okay, BYD 3,000 and then how many stations more do you need and so on and so forth. Macam kalau kita tengok balik, even bulan 5, bulan 6 tahun lepas, bila ramai orang Singapore datang, orang Malaysia pun travel, kita tengok ada dah congestion dekat the charging station between JB dengan KL. Tapi semenjak tu memang macam Syamsul cakap tadilah, bertubi-tubi Disember dengan bulan Disember yang paling banyak sekali roll out station-station yang baru, and these are high powered stations, 180, 60, 90, because before that we are only start with 50, which is relatively slow. So we saw during the Chinese New Year, orang-orang yang baru dapat BYD, baru dapat XC40 diorang, dan other brands of EV, they take it to balik kampung. It seems to be doing okay. We have not seen not a single one of our Facebook members who reported, aku kena queue. Tak ada langsung. Yang cakap pergi sana tempat lengang banyak.
Betul. So okay. I took this XC40 up north because up north apparently dia punya number of charges kan a lot less than going down south for whatever reason, and the biggest worry for me is bila dekat the charging station tu ada satu je charger.
Betul.
So apa yang berlaku kat saya masa saya naik ke utara tu ialah of course I'm a bit careless in the sense that I tak check the status betul-betul. I check the status I think the day before I went, and I thought Caltex was working dekat Bukit Gantang. When I got there, the northbound was not working. And also masa on the way up tu, I thought I wanted to charge dekat Simpang Pulai on the Shell punya 180 kilowatt punya charger tu lah. And dekat situ pun, again, it was my mistake. I did not read the fine print betul-betul. Where they insisted on having 200 credits before you can use the charger, which I thought was a bit silly. I had 100 credit in there. It's a parking app. Who would have a lot of money in a parking app, right? And I thought 100 would be enough. And pergi and tak boleh. And because it's for whatever reason, I couldn't add the amount. What do you think of that kind of situation? Tu bila some of the requirements are somehow, I think, now macam unreasonable, and updates on status tu mungkin tak immediate. Is that also yang something yang agak important ke macam mana?
Yeah, maybe I start first and then Pat you chip in lah. But my view is that sekarang ni we are still very new, still trying out new models like storing money in wallet, the booking system. The apps themselves are constantly being refined and developed. The good news is that through the Facebook group especially, and through my Vote chat also, all of the CPOs have their ears and eyes in there. So the moment these problems happen, they are aware, even though they may be quiet about it. And so the good news is that I think that everybody is looking into improving the ecosystem. I think a lot of people have already complained about this 200 ringgit deposit being minimum credit required before you start charging. And it was explained to us kenapa. It's because they don't want you to run out of credit, because benda tu is 4 ringgit a minute kind of stuff and all that. But the feedback is well received. I think they are working on alternative models like directly charging your credit card dan sebagainya lah.
But I mean, why would they care about you running out of credit? If you run out of credit, and you get whatever charge you get, then you jalan lah.
Yeah, but that means that they lose money lah. If you use up, let's say, if you have only 100 ringgit and you use up like 180 ringgit worth of charge credit, tapi
How can you use
minus
more than? Why don't they just stop? Oh, because it's a parking app.
Alright, it's not integrated with the charger yet.
It's not integrated to the actual charger.
Okay,
now
because
I understand.
that's the thing. It's a parking app that is bought by Shell, and they are using it primarily for the booking system. And
so does that
why,
actually mean? Does that mean that there's a cheat right there that you just mentioned?
Dah ada dulu last year orang Singapore datang this sempoi je, dia park tengah-tengah tu, betul dia cocok.
I see. Oh, so in effect the Shell charger tu dia tak ada lock lah.
Correct, but they are working on changing that
God.
because they know this loophole exists.
Well, if I knew that, I would have just plugged it and tapau.
Jangan.
Sembang pula just. Okay, but also on the other hand, dekat Bukit Gantang tu, what happened was I had to go to the south, because northbound was I had to go southbound, charge, pusing balik kat Kuala Kangsar lah. But on the plus side, for whatever reason, they did not charge me. It didn't appear, the charge didn't appear on the app, and it didn't appear on my card, didn't appear anywhere. So I don't know what happened. Twice I charged there. One was for like an hour and a half, the other one almost 2 hours. And for both occasion, it did not appear anywhere. They just, to this day, I still tengok berapa I kena charge hari tu, tak ada. It wasn't there. So their app is also faulty. So now I feel bad about not paying there, but I don't know what to do about it because there's just no record. No record
Lepas
of
ni, I
time.
think someone from Jom Charge will get back to you lah.
Okay. Sorry.
I think that's pretty sum up the situation with charging infrastructure and the back end infrastructure for charging. Masih lagi recovery, masih lagi tengah fine tune. And about Shell recharge ni punya harga, I think it suits apa yang diorang buat, to me lah kan. Apa yang diorang buat is suit with the Porsche. Diorang kan partner dengan Porsche.
Right.
You know, this parking company, Park Easy. So I guess diorang ada certain branding or something like that. But you know, this is one company. But I tengok Gentari, Petronas punya is fast growing. And I nampak bukan setakat kat highway, also Terang Road, iaitu belakang highway nearby. Diorang dah mula start bina, and it's the rate they build their charger is pretty amazing, laju.
Yes,
So
yes.
so I think the system will get better, definitely. Kan, you know, I always argue comms ni memang ada problem sikit dengan kita punya infrastructure ini. But I guess that will need time to fix. So that's benefit of doubt, kita tengok lah what's the progress kita ke depan lah.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
And
Lagi
the other
satu-
thing that go on.
Lagi satu point that I would like to make is the fact that kita sekarang ni ada at least 2 or 3 major players kan. Shell,
Yes.
Gentari dengan Charge EV. So and we can see that at least the punya southern route tu KL to JB memang competition tu dah ada. TNB pun dia Electron Station baru masuk GTU. Go to you, lupa nak mention.
Yeah,
So,
GTU, that's right.
They will be competing, and so even over the past 2-3 weeks when a lot of the new owners are using the northern route, southern route, they will go to Shell. Oh, terkejut. Wah, mahalnya Shell ni. Lepas tu they realise actually ada option lain. Kalau pergi south banyak option. Kalau pergi north sekarang ni option satu yang Jentari dekat Ipoh tu dengan the Bukit Gantang. So in a way
Actually Ipoh ada dua. Ipoh ada dua dekat
dengan Tian Siang.
Tian Siang.
Tapi Tian Siang tu I tak kira sangat because it's only business hours.
Tak. Actually tak. So when
officially it is only business hours, tapi
officially I see.
They will use because technically officially they can turn you away, tapi a lot of times they are very nice, they let you charge malam-malam. And so that's the point. From a user perspective, we want to have that certainty. You don't want to be
you want it officially
correct.
Open, right?
That's why we are very happy when the Jentari open dekat petrol station. That means that bila-bila 24 jam you just go there, tak payah nak minta belas kasihan orang dekat situ.
Betul. Well, I guess my experience masa dekat Tian Siang tu was positive because, like you said, I wasn't sure whether it will be open or not. Because kita buka the app tu is on Charge EV, I think it says sampai pukul 5. So when I call them, when I look at my timing, I would get there around 5:30. So in order to be sure that it's going to be available, I call them up ahead. And I said, I'm going to be there around 5:30. Boleh ke? Dia kata, datang aja. Dia kata, we'll let you in. So, okay, fine. And I arrived at around almost 6 o'clock. And 15 minutes after I arrived, and IX came in and he charged next to me lah. But the good thing about yang Ipoh punya tu, is satu, dia off highway, tapi they're not so far off the highway, and you can access it northbound and southbound, which I think Jentari was brilliant lah in choosing that location. And betul ke kita ada masalah cost dan juga mungkin power supply bila nak pasang atas highway? Maybe this is like the solution yang more viable ke macam mana?
Yeah, I think over the short term memang itulah jawapannya kalau nak buat charging station dalam dekat highway ni. Sebab dalam highway dia ada masalah, dia ada 3 sebenarnya. Satu, the kawasan R&R tu pun sekarang kita tengok masa peak travel period dah memang pack sampai orang parking dekat highway pun ada. And these are normal highway user, they're not even charging. So kalau you nak letak charging station dekat situ, then you are taking away the parking spot, satu hal. And then also that parking spot, because kita punya take up is not so much yet, kosong most of the time. It creates people punya orang kaya ni naik tocang nak ambil aku punya parking spot. So that creates ill feeling satu. Memang R&R tu memang dah sempit. Okay, sebab nombor 2 adalah memang macam Petra cakap tu, power requirement. Sebab these R&Rs, the way the process works in Malaysia is kalau masa you nak set up satu new R&R, set up satu taman, semua awal-awal lagi you dah cakap dengan TNB, this place is going to consume how many kilowatt, and they will build the infrastructure to support this. First time masa you submit the plan lagi, they will use that. So that plan was submitted tahun 80-an, 90-an, tak factor in the need for EV charging. So now bila nak letak EV charging ni, kita tengok ada R&R yang ada excess power. Okay, kau team boleh letak 50 kilowatt situ, boleh letak 90 kilowatt ke apa. Kalau kita nak letak more than one, which is your issue earlier, is that memang definitely the R&R memang tak cukup power. Nak add the additional power itu yang paling leceh dalam dunia. It can take years to do that because the process is almost like is unknown, because orang buat kilang takkanlah tiba-tiba dia kilang tu double or triple the power requirement. Kalau double or triple the power kawasan tu, dia tambah kilang baru. Bila tambah kilang baru, a new requirement is submitted. So the process is not compatible with this sudden need for additional power. That's point number 2. And point number 3 is that there are multiple levels of approvals that are needed. You need approval from the highway operator, you need approval from the highway regulator, LLM, you need approval from the local authorities because tanah dia. Betul, you need to have approval from TNB to add the power. So banyak sangat layer. For your information, Shell tu, they first announced that they are going to do this 180 kilowatt HPC at 6 location. To the time that habis 66 dah siap, 20 bulan.
Betul. It took them almost 2 years. You're right. Absolutely right. We waited and we waited and we waited from the day they announced until it actually came out. Yeah, betul.
Correct.
And I guess the electrical grid system ni is something that is not very flexible because it seems that it's the same problem the world over.
Correct.
And hari tu I baru aja had a discussion with a friend who was installing solar for an industrial facility. And what's interesting about what he said was that the planned installation is for I can't remember what the megawatt amount is for that installation, tetapi they will be installing it in stages. But like you said, the exchange that has to be installed or the transformer that has to be installed is for the full capacity.
Correct.
So it's like, what? You have to install, can't you install, because they were thinking of doing it like 3-4 tranches. So why can't you just install like smaller blocks of, dia kata tak boleh. Tak boleh.
Yep.
It seems rather strange, but I mean that's apparently how it works lah kan.
It's the same problem even in the UK, for example.
That's
they
right.
are very liberalized, and still they are having this problem because one industry observer I spoke to when I was in Singapore last year was that the whole way of how we generate electricity and get it to the consumer has not really changed from the first 100 years ago, which is that you have a big power plant, you use wires to take it to the customer, which means that the wires have to be sized to what the customer needs. Awal-awal lagi. So it's very static and very difficult to make it more dynamic. Of course, the theory is that you have these smart grids and all the grid of the future. I think TNB was talking about it, that would help us do this. But those kinds of things will take a long time to come true. So in the meantime, if we were to meet our electrification targets, especially along the highways where the power needs are greatest, we will need to cari jalan lain. We need to work around these limitations.
I would like to add.
Yeah.
Datuk cerita pasal R&R is jam packed. I agree 100%. In fact kalau nak buat charger bukan dekat existing R&R. I agree that sebab dia akan jadi konflik nanti antara pengguna petrol dengan pengguna EV. So the best way lah, I think, looking at experience and looking at the thing that's going on, I think it's better a new area is designated for charging. Kita buat daripada kita letak dekat existing tempat hari ni, sebab sistem tu static, dia tak bermakna kita letaklah charger dekat R&R benda boleh jadi. Tak, dia dia kena calculate balik charge, dia punya power supply kat sana. So all that akan menyebabkan pemasangan lambat, kos mahal. So I mean, I just want to add lah, kita kalau nak buat charging infrastructure ni, lebih baik buat dekat tempat yang baru. And tempat yang baru, power supply pun baru, so dia dah siap calculation dia. Okay, yang ni kita nak buat sebanyak 10 DC chargers. So we need how many megawatts? So That's like, I think that's the fastest way lah. Atau pasal hari ni gentari lah, jom charge lah, even charge EV pun I tengok. Sekarang semua cari terang road. Semua cari kat luar. Why? Sebab ini semua lah. Power, highway
Could
lagi
it
lah
be
kan.
also
Banyak layer
because masa untuk charge tu dia lebih lama daripada masa isi minyak. So it's better to take it off the highway to prevent further congestion. Is that also a factor, do you think? Or maybe if I'm not mistaken, hari tu saya nampak dalam my Evoque ada somebody share like a new highway dekat Ipoh ke mana ke, where they had like an idea untuk like a charging, or I don't know what it look like, a charging station lah, where there are like 40-50 stalls for charging. Or is that maybe the new way of looking or designing stuff ke macam mana ke?
Yeah, I think the fact that you need multiple options per location tu memang penting. Sebab especially when you travel long distance, you want to make sure that you can charge when you need to. You tak nak tunggu, you tak nak benda tu rosak, you tak nak benda tu tak boleh cakap dengan back end. So, for example, one good example kita dah start doing this is Skudai R&R heading south. Skudai R&R, this is privately operated R&R off of the Plus Highway, right before the Skudai toll. Dia baru lagi, so they managed to size the distribution punya power there to be enough. So at Skudai R&R, they have charger daripada Jom Charge, they have charger daripada Shell Recharge, they have charger daripada Charge EV. Dekat Starbucks ada AC, ada 50 kilowatt dekat Caltex, 120 ke dekat BHP pun ada. So that part is like kalau saya datang daripada KL nak charge, I always go to Skudai because I know whatever it is kat sana. Kalau Caltex ada orang, I can go to Family Mart. Kalau Family Mart pun ada orang, I can go BHP. BHP ada orang, I can go Shell. So susah, I go to the AC one dekat Starbucks, minum kopi while waiting for the rest to clear. So guaranteed, and that's the problem. So kalau that's why we see in Norway, in UK and all, dia punya charging locations memang they give the consumer the choice to either ideally more than one CPO or multiple stalls per CPO. So kalau benda tu rosak satu, okay tak apa. We still have 5 more. Macam Jentari is doing at Aitam, dengan Bangi, dengan X-Park dekat PJ.
Do you think that somebody should draw up like a guideline on minimum number of stalls at what location? Pasal, macam kedai minyak pun dia ada benda macam guideline juga kan. Setelah kedai minyak tak boleh tutup, kena buka 24 jam just because that is the need kan. So you think that the kind of rules or guidelines should be drawn by somebody, I don't know who lah, maybe the CPOs themselves ke?
So far, I don't think there is a need for it because of the reason I said earlier. Because all the CPOs in Malaysia, and this one, alhamdulillah lah, most of them, if not all, are very attentive to the users and the issues we are facing. So without even those guidelines, Jentari dah tahu, they know what to do. For example, in terms of the multiple number of stalls, they are experimenting themselves. And at least I think my view is that the market forces are working right now in terms of the individual CPOs looking to how to meet customer needs. Customers need to be more vocal and vocally constructive when informing the CPOs of what works and what doesn't work. And I think it's working out quite well. I takut kalau ada guideline ni sekarang, it will sort of like the guideline of what people in Putrajaya thinks is right rather than what the users want.
I'm not suggesting that maybe it should be the government who draws up the guideline, or it could be the CPOs themselves coming together to form a body and then suggesting.
Nanti anti-competitive pula dengan tu my competitive and my CC. So they must be careful also in terms of making sure the competition is indeed competing. Nanti kan macam ada, remember the issue last time when MAA, the members also share their numbers also kena dengan MyCC.
That I never understood why sharing your sales
that
number
was satu hal lah.
anti-competition.
That was a separate
To
topic.
this day, sampai susah kalau dapat data. It's just, I don't even understand that one. So, true. So, right now, as we stand, clearly the number of chargers is enough, or do you think masa Chinese New Year hari tu your members ataupun EV users masih lagi takut-takut nak use their EV untuk balik kampung? Sebenarnya is that why sebenarnya kosong all those things?
A lot of it is perception kan, because also I a lot of times when they baru dapat EV tu, dah benda tu hit 50% dah panic. Oh my god, mana aku nak charge? So I think as people get more experience, the numbers of depends on the route lah. Kalau nak, if you ask us that between KL and Singapore kira dah okay. As the numbers increase, it can increase. Between KL and let's say Perlis, KL to Penang kind of okay, must add more. Tapi from Penang onwards to Thailand, woi memang we need more. And then jangan cerita lah kalau hala ke Pantai Timur, setakat ni thank goodness ada TNB dengan Jentari buka. But that one heading east saja, nak balik ada satu je 50. So we need to expand.
Oh yeah, that was
the
only yeah, that's right.
Yelah, so dia nak orang KL pergi je, tak nak balik.
They forget.
Yang ini I rasa kekangan, for example the Jentari one yang 50 the heading back to KL tu, because kekangan bekalan elektrik juga comes back to the earlier point, the electricity supply availability. So that one also, that's why we need to find workarounds to that lah. Like one workaround is to build it off of the highway, but that means user have to exit via toll semua lah. So it's a balance lah, banyak factor ni. There's no easy one size fit all answer, which is why I think that the fact that the whole ecosystem must continue to dialogue, must continue to talk, must continue to give constructive feedback. That's how we build it together.
This year, how many EVs are you guys expecting to be added to the
Pat, you jawab ni.
It's an exponential growth, so we expect kalau tahun lepas 800, we should be going 1,600 and above.
Wait, 800 itu just your members saja. But campur dengan orang lain, what's the estimate? Campur dengan all the other brands, what's the estimate that was added last year to the Malaysian roads? Ada dalam 2,000 tak?
2,000 kot. Yang all the brands jual last year total dekat
2.6K.
2.6K.
2,600. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means that this year, how many you think?
It's
5,000.
double lah. Exponentially dia double. This year 4,000 maybe for them, or 5,000.
That's...
No, I think more actually. I think at the minimum it will double, because kalau ikut my rough calculation 2022, a total of maybe about 3,500 or between 3.3 to 3.5K was registered and sold and registered. Ni tak masuk stok yang masuk lagi. So over 3,000.
2022, 3,000 EVs was registered. Over 3,000 EVs was registered.
Yes. So that exceeded my own estimates by at least 50%. So I suspect that given we have new entrants this year, Aura, BYD, all the price range is a lot more acceptable to a lot more people, and also our charging infrastructure is doing pretty well kat Pantai Timur, Pantai Barat, Pantai Timur lain cerita. So I assume that it's going to be a minimum of doubling. It could even be tripling by the end of this year.
Yeah, minimum double lah. We expect that.
Okay, so let's say we get, I don't know, 4,000-5,000 cars. Kalau tahun ni 3,300, doubling means 6,000 cars this year. That would effectively bring the total number, kalau 3,300 was registered this year plus. Exactly. So 10,000 cars. That would mean that the next Chinese New Year might be hell.
Correct.
If we don't get the...
If we are unable to expand the charging infrastructure as how we did it in 2022. For example, the the air hitam ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 DC spots. We need to double that. So may not be at air hitam, but it may be somewhere else. Tapi yang masalah yang sekarang is that still it takes a long time for charging parks to be developed at R&Rs. We need to cari jalan around that.
I think what's interesting here yang kita tak dapat factor in betul-betul lagi is foreign cars, Thailand and Singapore cars. And I say this because I baru je sembang dengan one property developer. I tanya dia, you tak nak pasang ke dekat Perlis pasal dia tengah develop kat Perlis kan. So dia kata nak pasang kat Perlis untuk apa? Dia cakap, weh, siam banyak kereta elektrik weh, dia nak masuk sini. Kalau ada kat Perlis satu, lepas dia lintas je immigration, dia boleh duduk tempat apa lah, charge kan. But people don't even see that as a benefit. Whereas itu I spoke to I spoke to kawan kita Zuril lah, and dia kata dia punya charger yang dekat Ipoh tu has seen quite a few Thai cars come in as they come down south kan. So that is something yang I don't know macam mana dia orang nak calculate to help us fund the local network lah kan, by all these foreign cars kan. And with 10,000 EVs coming in, I mean, I did a calculation where I assume 50% growth every year, and I assume that we sold 2,000 cars this year. Even at that rate, congak-congak kita at 50% growth every year, by 2037, the entire industry is already converted to EV lah, at 50% growth lah. So if it's doubling, then I'm guessing it's a lot faster lah kan, the adoption rate.
Tapi it will slow down lah. The adoption rate will slow down a little bit once it reaches the peak. Because sekarang pun you think about it, kalau pun kita excited over 3,000 sold last year, that's 3,000 over 700,000 PIV, you know, percentage wise is very, very small. And so we expect exponential growth over the next few years. But this is something that cannot be repeated often enough lah. Is that EV sales memang is highly intertwined dengan charging infrastructure growth. Without charging infrastructure growth, it will be slowed down. So that's why dua-dua ni kena balance. Kalau satu je besar, nanti kan banyak problem, then the new adopters will be turned off. Kalau charger buat cepat sangat pula, nanti kan ramai orang yang rugi because they get like one user per week or one user per month. Tak boleh juga. So it needs to be tandem.
Which is exactly what the girl dekat Bukit Gantang ni cakap kat Ella. Bila I tanya dia ni berapa banyak kereta mai sehari, dia kata sehari, seminggu satu pun tak tentu.
Yes, exactly. It's very picky. That's the thing. Kalau Chinese New Year, kalau hujung tahun, school holidays, ramai orang. Tapi in any other time, satu seminggu pun memang tak ada kadang-kadang.
Exactly. Okay, so the next thing is that a lot of, bila I buat video ni, kawan-kawan tengok benda pertama sekali dia kata, ya Allah, mahalnya elektrik kan. But of course, you guys know that most of the time you charge kat rumah, right? So how important is it for like new developments to have just EV ready, wiring ke EV ready or whatever lah, macam mana? What do you think? Is it something that needs to happen quickly? Because if you think it's going to double every year, and this year we are at 0.5%, right? 0.5% in 2022, 1% in 2023, 2% 2024, 4% 2025. 4% is actually 28, almost 30,000 cars. That's a lot of cars that will come onto the road. And 60,000 cars by 2025, 100. Then it's, then suddenly it's by 2030 everybody wants an EV. Can we cope at the current pace of whatever the target? Because Pat, what's the target for charger?
1,000
DC fast charger this year.
This year. Not us, but MITI. Only on MITI side. But I think MITI ada target dia, Green Tech pun ada target dia.
So by 2025 the target is 5,000 DC fast charger.
Something like that. Yes.
Is
I think
that,
it's 10,000 kot. Tapi I think it's 5,000.
2025 is the 2025 the official low carbon mobility target is 10,000 total chargers. Yes. Out of that is 1,000 DC, but I think that needs to be revised.
That's right.
That needs to be revised lah, because kalau ikutkan the plan was 2022 100. By the end of this year we should be adding 200 more according to the LCMB. Tetapi if you see the rate of growth that we have seen over 2022 and what we expect to see 2023, I think that target may need to be revised upwards. But then again, it's just it's a target by the government. I think the CPOs will know what to do. Bila dah ramai customer, they will know lah. But I cannot emphasize this enough. Diorang bukan tak nak buat, tak nak invest. Is the fact that one station can take up to a year to deploy because of all this difficulties, tanah, elektrik, kelulusan dan sebagainya.
So about the grid tu, I think the grid is memang a major stumbling block lah. But I understand kenapa it is so difficult. It's because, like you said, the way that we have produced and distributed electricity has not changed since the time of Edison. Basically, we're still doing it the same way. And I think our experience in the past, like in Malaysia in the 1990s when we had brownouts, rolling brownouts and blackouts, and also I think in Europe maybe the decade before, and also in the US, is that the grid, because it is so interconnected, that it could all crumble like a deck of cards. And I think that is why grid operators, they tend to be ultra conservative. If I'm not mistaken, TNB macam kalau kata pencawang tu capacity dia X, you'll only ever allowed to take up 80% only of the capacity, because they never want to even see another brownout ever in their life, because that would be like a total complete failure for them, right? And because those transformers are really expensive and really slow to manufacture. Apparently transformers take between 3 to 6 months to get out once you place an order. It's just so ridiculously slow, and I guess that's a big change in terms of the grid design needs to happen to accommodate all these things lah. But what about charging yang okay, kalau katalah kita kata the number of chargers untuk public charging pun nak kena revise. What about the requirement for home charging, especially untuk strata property? You think that requires some kind of law to insist on developers putting it, ataupun you think that's free market will take care of itself?
It's probably kalau yang strata tu the push needs to come from the approval of the development plans. At least for example, similar to how kalau ada berapa resident, the ratio is this many car park per resident minimum. You can add more if you want. Dan sebagainya. And then this part is where when the developer submits the development plan to the local authority, sepatutnya the requirement is there to at least pre-wire X% of the car park with X amps punya connection, so that you get like enough power to that part. And so then the whole part is that the whole building, dia punya pencawang tu is enough, is sized well enough to cater for that. Because sekarang ni kita tengok the existing apartment blocks memang banyak betul masalah, because the sizing of the pencawang is enough for the building, the lift, the escalator ke whatever it is, tetapi of course they couldn't have foreseen the need for EV charging. And then the standard for that needs to be looked at and needs to be revised, so that when the development plans are submitted, then there is enough electricity for the building to support. That's for new buildings. Yang the existing buildings pula maybe a right to charge regulation, di mana the residents, if they want to install chargers, then they cannot be summarily dismissed by the building management. But this is all, memang it's a long process lah. I don't think we should expect that things to change in 2 or 3 years even. I think that even in countries that are far ahead of us, it's still taking them time, because we also want to manage the change such that kita tak membazir duit. Sebab kalau lah, for example, we make it compulsory for all existing building to tambah pencawang, some of these don't need it. And so we need to be mindful of the fact that yes, we do need to be recognize the fact that in the future almost all, if not all, land vehicles will be electrified. Tetapi it's a change that will take time. And in Malaysia's case, I think that it's appropriate to maybe assume that it's a 10 to 20 year journey.
Do we have the time? If your estimation that the market size will double every year, well, at least until it hit 60-70% before it start to taper off, do we have time? Because that would hit, I mean, we might hit 60-70% by 2030, or even by 2030 at that rate.
But that's where the feedback loop comes in lah. Di mana we need to CPOs need to be very paying very close attention to not only the market size growth, tetapi also to the user punya feedback. What works, what doesn't work, so that they can figure out where to spend their money, where it makes the most sense.
No, like, but
And
I agree with you that the CPO is not something that we should worry about. Is for me, it's more
the grid.
the grid and also the right to charge punya kind of thing, and
Correct.
regulations untuk the new development. I think that one yang kalau if it's going to double, then we could have some serious
Yeah.
problems with the
New development is easy. That one senang. It's a stroke of a pen. You can just
Yes.
cakap issue plan. Malaysia can just issue the directive. That one easy. Namanya right to charge is also not that difficult. It's just a matter of convening like the local authorities KPKT to come up with the regulation, either a directive from the menteri ataupun nak buat jadi law pun boleh. And it's like only a 1 or 2 year process at the most. Yang difficult part is the existing apartments ni. And this one I think also CPOs can form part of the answer. For example, they are trying out the Gentari X Park PJ tu is a charging park with many DC chargers that could work for existing flats where tak apalah, they cannot charge overnight, tak apa. Then they can go to the charging park to get like maybe 10-15 minutes, get coffee, whatever it is, and get enough for the day or maybe to the next 2 or 3 days. The other one actually we haven't talked about
Tapi
is also
mahal kat
workplace.
itu DC mahal. Then they'll be like,
But
weh, aku kena
that's
bayar.
a separate issue. That must be resolved lah. Because in the UK pun ada problem. They are starting to call on the government to see how this inequity in charging access, because people who don't have home charging suddenly have to pay double in
That's
terms of
right.
electricity. But one thing we haven't talked about is workplace charging. Because
Yeah.
if you if you have a car and you drive it to work, the car will sit there for 6-8 hours, whatever it is. And so similarly, new office buildings should be made to supply at least low power AC charging for all, not a percentage, for all of the car parks.
So the problem that I see with workplace charging as opposed to home charging is that when everybody gets to the office, and if all offices provide as many chargers as people want, let's say a minimum of 7 kilowatt punya charger lah, let's say for example lah. If you have 100 cars, that's like 700 kilowatt. That's a lot of power being drawn in the daytime when it's already peak. And the grid operators, they're not going to like that. They're going to say this is going to be a problem if we do it like that, because they would prefer it to be charged at night when because that's just the way it is, kan? So
well,
then,
yes and no. Because the trough in Malaysia right now in terms of electricity memang malam. Tapi again, there are technological solutions for this. You have smart chargers, the ones that utility can turn on and off as per what they want. For example, kalau office building tu, let's say you have 100 charging points, 7 kilowatt, may not necessarily have to supply 7,000 kilowatts. You can have a queuing system, for example, where you can like turn that down to a third, where only a third charge. Once that third finish, then you go to the next one. The queuing system can be smart enough that, if you're really in a hurry, you put into your app, say, I'm willing to pay to jump the queue. Okay, pay to jump the queue. So benda-benda macam ni is actually that the problem for me are opportunities for innovation.
Right.
So long as you listen to the customer and you understand the environment well enough to come up with these solutions, because the technology is not rocket science, it's already been invented. It's just stringing it together. This is why I sometimes I get frustrated when people just talk about problems. And look, this is an opportunity for our guys to go and invent ways to solve these problems.
I mean, you look at Singapore, man. They have high-rise building all along, and they're coping well now. But yeah, macam Datuk Syarul kata lah, dia buat satu public punya charger. It's a DC charger, but I think they solve now punya problem. But I think give them another 2, 3, 5 years. I don't know. Maybe the government will start impose some charging rights and all that. Tapi tak nampak Singapore impose lagi lah charging rights ni. Tak.
Yeah. But Singapore tu yang interestingnya, dia punya target was for 50,000 chargers by 2025, if I'm not mistaken lah. But out of that, 90% is AC charger lah, which is probably going to be for home, for their HDB flats and whatnot lah. And I think that is for them, that's the way to go lah kan, because they are mostly in high rises and all that lah. But yeah, so yeah, it's an interesting times that we are in, and like Dr. Syarul said, this time for innovation. And satu last question untuk Pat dekat Perkema ni. So I see that Perkema is trying to build a charging network. So you might be the only car reseller as a group, or car seller as a group, that is trying to build your own charging infrastructure, which is in itself very unique lah, because nobody else is thinking about that. Certainly kan. So tell us why you want to do that.
Well, it's something like a prerequisite lah nak jual EV kan. When we want to sell EV, so the charging infrastructure you mesti fikir pasal tu lah. You must have a thought about that. And kita pula persatuan yang was very single minded, jual kereta, import kereta je. So when opportunity arise, kita dah boleh jual energi sekarang, and by doing this, it's helping us, our members, to divert from the old technology to the new industry to sell. I think that's why we entered, and we want to stay relevant. The only way, we cannot invent car. We are not in the manufacturing. So the other parts, the bigger parts of the ecosystem yang we can take part and we can also masuk is charging infrastructure. So yeah, that's why we are doing it for our customer pada mulanya. But I think eventually this will be something yang kita tengok as another revenue line lah untuk members kita or persatuan kita. So that's it.
Okay, so I was thinking, maybe Perkema nampak macam kata you probably can't sell ICE cars, so you better just start doing this, because how long do you think you have before you have to, like, really the ICE business doesn't make sense? Do you have any kind of sense of what that timeline would be?
2030, masa tu dah maybe 2030, masa tu maybe the amount of EV sudah on par or more than the ICE in the market lah. I mean, that's how we see it. So yeah, you're right. We better do this now before we get left out in the future punya business, because the future business is controlled by, it's mostly by OEM lah. Kita tengok hari ni orang yang bawa EV, dia mesti juga bawa support, after sales support, dia punya software dia kena beli, dia punya diagnostic tools yang different from the old. So all this is actually OEM yang control, right? So kalau kita Perkema masih lagi jual kereta orang second hand without looking into infrastructure or after sales support, dan kita tak boleh nak pergi mana. It's hard to compete. Sebab manufacturer will have an edge, sama ada dia nak jual kereta atau dia nak sewa kereta. That's manufacturer punya edge nanti ke depan. Right. So kita kena ni lah, kita kena abang cakap evolve lah with technology and time.
And to be honest, I've driven up north twice with the same car, XC40, and going up north the first time, the one yang selamatkan I, pasal mula-mula kan takut, macam Datuk cakap lah, Datuk Syarul cakap, you tengok 20% dah panik dah, tak cukup ni, padahal dekat juru tu kalau nak pergi ke Alostak 20% tu probably enough lah for you to get to Alostak, but panik punya pasal keluar dekat juru, pergi cari siapa punya charger, Perkema punya charger, dah satu penyelamat kat situ, Abadi Motors kan. Yeah, it's slow, 30 kilowatt, but still, that gave us like a lifeline lah. And of course dekat Alostak, apa nama dia punya, you punya member kat Alostak yang pasal 60
LBI. That one Lee Motors. Ada satu lagi tu yang apa nama 60 kilowatt tu,
apa nama?
LBI.
LBI.
Yes.
LBI tu was really a fantastic because kita punya stopover final kat Changlun kan, so we went there and and charge for like 20 minutes just to go, so that I can go to Changlun and come back and duduk charge sampai penuh untuk balik ke KL lah. So your network has saved me, and this time around it was BMW punya network that gave me suddenly a place yang I tak sangka ada, tiba-tiba ada and boleh pakai, you know. So your Datuk kata apa, we need everybody to play a role, and we need streamlining. Ni macam kawan kita cakap ni, streamlining in terms of payment, in terms of the app pun satu hal, because as it is I have like 3-4 apps. I'm sure everybody ada 3-4 app campur dengan plug share-nya, nak locate kat mana binatang tu ada, and this and that and the other. That streamlining is something that needs to somehow happen lah. I don't know how all the CPOs nak agree with that. And dekat Nizra ni another one of my favourite one, because sebelah tu ada Muhibah kan, boleh pergi makan 1 jam, settle charge kereta penuh. And this one I like dekat sini sebab you partner dengan this particular one, partner dengan Petronas kot, because ada
Jom
payment
charge.
settle dengan Jom Charge. Ada dua-dua ada, both settle and Jom Charge. My experience has been that settle is easier than Jom Charge lah. So if I have a choice, I will use settle, unless settle tak boleh. I kesian lah juga kat Jom Charge tu, because dia partner dengan Petronas kan. And we duduk dekat Jentari punya tempat, I tengok je, mesti I try settle dulu lah, because so much more seamless. Dia punya top up system dia very quick, and it's all I mean, bagus lah kan. At the end of the day, you still need all these big companies to invest on something yang you know, that they need to spend banyak duit lah to make it seamless for everybody. So I hope everybody will somehow boleh adopt I don't
Talking
know,
about
common.
Kita penggemar tengok Nizra tu as a good example lah. Charger location, lepas tu usability dia 24 hours. And we are talking to Miti dah bagi kita hint lah. Dia suruh kita buka 24 hours lah this charging infrastructure. So kita kena rope in the local authority dengan custom lah untuk this matter. And I think we are going for nak open 24 hours. Cuma kita nak kena discuss lagi tentang terms and all that, sebab macam kat tempat saya dekat Kayuara pun kan, dia tempat tu dalam pagar. So kalau saya nak buat public, pagar yang dekat belah tu mungkin saya tak dudukkan dia dalam pagar. So saya kena like things that I need to do to make it public lah kan.
Yeah.
So this nampak gayanya Miti memang nak push kita supaya buka 24 hours and buka dekat tempat public. So meaning that kalau boleh charger ni bukan dalam kita punya showroom, tapi dia dekat luar kepada dalam public domain. But tahun ni lah kita akan discuss dengan custom, dengan local authority. Kemar punya showroom charger ni akan bertambah. Definitely akan bertambah. And tahun ni saja 30 kot dah set, dah letak duit untuk deposit and all that. So bila kita dah bertambah ni, kita dah dengar feedback daripada user, I think kita kena respond lah. So one of the thing is user cakap kenapa tak buka 24 jam. So we are working on it lah. InsyaAllah by the end of this year kita dapat persetujuan semua pihak and we can open 24 hours.
I know Datuk Syarul doesn't like the government to set rules, but I think that's one rule that they should set for now lah, at least, that if you have a DC fast charger, you should be compelled to make it available to the public 24/7.
But the worry is when you do that, because the additional cost of providing it open to 24/7, dan nanti kan orang tak nak pula provide.
What would the additional cost be? Because the thing is already installed, and you probably have security.
No, I'm talking about new. Kalau for example, if I'm a site owner kan, tak apalah aku boleh pasang charger ni, tapi the additional cost of making it safe for 24 hours, you probably need to have a security guard lah, itulah inilah. I takut it's like too much. Macam ni lah, it's actually that imagine ourselves right now is in the early days of Silicon Valley. we want to allow everybody to try out new things, for innovation to happen, for people to try and fail, for people to try new things and succeed, people to get together and all that stuff. So with minimal regulation other than safety, to just have the market and people be free to innovate and be free to try out new models, because that is how we can move quickly, especially in the early days of the market. As the market matures, nanti kan we can start to see, okay, what are the problem points. This whole 24-hour thing is, people are very much well aware, but the solution is already there. For example, jentari diletak dekat petrol station dia, ataupun diletak at standalone sites that are open 24 hours. Then the only problem 24-hour access sekarang ni adalah yang dekat dealer. So the dealer ones are the ones like yang found a solution macam Nizra. So I think Pet Pekema, they already know what the solution is, tapi it's just a question of working out the kelulusan dan the steps that are needed, and if there's any renovation that is needed. So we didn't need regulation for this.
Yeah. Market forces, right? We work based on what market wants.
Because kalau benda tu sesuai untuk digunakan, the user will come and use it, and all the benefits that will accrue lah. I mean, you get money from the charger, or the people come visit your showroom if it's during the day, tiba-tiba keluar dengan kereta baru dan sebagainya. So the benefits will accrue if the charging provider listens to the buyer. Essentially is that.
So dulu masa Nizra was free, it was embarrassing to go and use because it was free. In a sense, it felt like a little bit embarrassing lah, because I mean the guard was they were very, everybody can go kan, memang dia open pun dekat luar. Tapi pergi cakap kat guard tu kata, you just scan sini, make sure you letak nama dia punya email, nanti charge lah. Dia tak kisah pun kan. But you felt a little like, macam you felt sorry lah, I'm using free electricity kan. So now that dia ada payment, I feel slightly less embarrassed, but still kind of embarrassed, because it's in a way I feel like it's a private network. Because it's, it's the same macam Tian Siang pun sama. Although dia bagi, and you're sitting there and you're charging and you're looking at it says BMW warna biru kat situ, and you're a little embarrassed about using even though you're
But
paying.
if you're paying for it, you shouldn't be embarrassed.
It's still a little bit lah, like you say, it's an it felt like an imposition, because I came after office hours and they're allowing me to. So they're still, but if it's made law that you have to make it open for 24 hours, then I said, okay lah, because it's the law, what you have to give me.
Okay. Masa tu you bawa kereta brand apa?
I bought Volvo.
Itu memang betul. Volvo kena buat lagi banyak DC charger.
Somebody kena bagi tahu Volvo lah, dia orang yang banyak jual kereta elektrik. And we haven't heard a peep from them about this, Anyway, there is a Volvo media thing, I think next week kot, dia nak cerita pasal dia punya kejayaan dia orang apa kan. Maybe we'll ask them then lah, that all that kejayaan kan, mana nak tolong pasang ni. So okay, anyway guys, thank you so much. We've been here for 1 hour, so it's been quite a good discussion. Anything you guys want to add in closing about the charging infrastructure, and apa goodies yang you would like to see from the budget this year, now that it's delayed and they're given more time to think about it?
I think I'll start first lah, Pat. I think the focus now should be directed towards growing the charging network. But the government needs to be smart about how they allocate the resources lah. For example, kita tahu sekarang the limit to the deployment of the chargers on the highway is all red tape and availability of power. So what are the workarounds? For example, the technology exists where you can have battery storage on site. You don't need that much power from the grid to come in. You charge the battery is then used to power the chargers when the cars come in. So, but then that makes the system more expensive. So perhaps this is something government can consider in terms of either subsidies or grants for CPOs that are willing to invest in these battery storage systems that work around the problem of grid availability. So the support, I think the goodies that I think I would like to see for the budget is a little bit more focus on the problems our CPOs are facing and how to help them overcome those problems and to reduce as much as possible the red tape.
So for us on our side, we are working on the supply side, which is the demand of the car, and For us, we would like to see more clarity in longer term policy because 2 tahun, 3 tahun really not
Macam mana nak
giving
invest
people,
Yeah.
not giving people space to like a projection for like 10 years for example. Kalau kita nak bawa industri datang sini, there must be some time frame yang lebih lama daripada 2-3 tahun lah or 5 tahun like now CKD punya plan. So we would like to see more clarity, longer term punya plan, and then I mean coincide dengan government punya lestari, pembangunan insan, all madani, masyarakat madani. I think the approach must be apa orang cakap wholesome lah. So hopefully not just the supply side saja dapat, macam Datuk Syarul kata tadi, CPO also should be incentivized. Kan? And if they decided to use technology macam battery storage apa semua ni, we should encourage more. Sebab investment tu besar. Kan? Cuma dia punya kuah yang tumpah tu nanti, we have a country that start using battery storage dalam grid. Right? That's a good start for renewable. So yeah, that's it. So kita nak kita punya wish list untuk the 24th ni lah, hopefully. And for the consumer, jangan lupa, right? CPO you incentivize, seller, manufacturer you incentivize, consumer juga you need to incentivize. Because why? Because diorang pioneer. So diorang yang pioneer ni, diorang face a lot of orang kata dugaan, right? Dia yang paling banyak diduga lah. So there must be some sort of ganjaran lah, incentivize for them taking this risk. Dia orang ambil risiko ni dengan charger tak cukupnya, dengan repair spare part belum ada, but they took the risk. So hopefully government juga incentivize the consumer in whatever way they can lah. Kan? Yang paling penting the whole player, the whole people that on every layer akan dapat lah.
Yeah. So on my part, like kalau I nak tambah is that I would like to see a sell by date lah for ICE. I think that is what the government should say. I know it's politically challenging, but they need to say that before everybody can see a clear path lah on how to move forward. But when that will come, I think only can come when the government realise that the discussion is really not about EV, but it's really about energy sufficiency and energy independence, because moving to RE, renewable energy, that's what we will get. And to add on the what Datuk said just now, I think the incentives untuk battery should come very soon lah, if not this year, and possibly next year, because I nampak the move to EV ni will require battery on site as a way of stabilizing the grid and flattening out the demand curve. I think new developments should come with battery requirement. I don't know how you will measure it lah, kilowatt per square feet ke whatever ke. I think that is something that is necessary unless kita nak rombak the entire grid system, which is probably not likely going to happen lah. The only way to do it, like you said, you need to have batteries on site to help modulate the demand lah. But yeah, otherwise that's all that I think that we want to talk about today. Thank you so much, Datuk Syarul and Raja Petra, for coming on. I hope that we can meet up on a maybe regular basis every 3 months ke, kita duduk cerita sikit tentang all the updates. In fact, this year kalau you tengok ni video yang kita buat ni is like a monthly series yang kita akan buat, where we will go explore the growth of the charging network and to give people an impression of macam mana they can plan their journey. So this time around, because it's my second long drive, the way that I plan it is slightly different already. I understand how far the car can go, so 20% doesn't make me panic anymore. And the way that I design my charging is because Volvo ni dia pakai Android forecast, so it's all very seamless. So what I get on the punya center console is it says to me how many percent I have left when I reach my destination, and I charge it according to that. For me, 20% is uber comfortable, so as long as I have 20% when I get to my destination, I'm fine. If I'm in a real rush, 10 to 15% is something that I'm willing to accept as my charge at destination. But this time around, my destination was Sungai Petani, and Sungai Petani ada satu saja charger.
Yep.
Iaitu di Central Square. But luckily that's a buffet on charge EV, so I'm happy. Pergi cocok je lah, and then the car will charge for almost nothing. But cuma that the car has to be left there for hours and hours on end. So realistically, it's not a realistic way to travel yet, unless you start installing EV chargers at your parents' house as you go back kampung, ataupun kawan-kawan ni semua orang dah ada EV charger kat rumah, then maybe it works out lah. But anyway, it is a major improvement, even because the time difference is like 6 months from the first trip to the second trip. And there is already a significant improvement, even up north where everybody say it's a lot more difficult. And I hope you guys can help suggest where I should go every month, so I can help point out what the thing that's happening. Okay guys, thank you very much again. And kalau kawan-kawan semua berminat, tolong sikit saya tekan butang like, kongsi macam biasa. And you can always suggest kat sini, kat komen kita, mana you nak I pergi, dan apa aspect of EV ownership yang you nak I explore. I can always call these experts again, and there are many other experts yang mungkin they can help me get in touch with when we'll try to get others from grid operators, charging point operators, and also the car companies to help answer some of the concerns. Okay, sampai situ je. Pemandu Malaysia, Puan Ibrahimah, kita jumpa lagi insyaAllah.